This is a review of the Dodge Charger SRT 2016. I hope you'll find this review useful and interesting. I enjoyed making this review with Ross. We'll start with the exterior styling. Some people find it's oversized, some people find it is not subtle. I can only describe it as a terrible beauty if you want. I mean, this is a very big car. This car weighs 4,400 pounds, which kind of put me off, but it bucks the engineering trend of lighter weight. However, in person, the proportions are incredibly balanced. This vehicle starts at 56,000 Canadian and finishes at 60,000 Canadian. It comes standard with 20-inch wheels, and there are 6 piston 15.4-inch rotors in the front, which is kind of crazy. Trunk space is actually kind of awesome for this performance car. The seats fold down 60/40, and the fact that it's a full-size car makes it uniquely practical. Since this car gives so much performance for the money they had to cut down elsewhere, this interior feels at most a $50,000 car. However, in the back seats, you have a lot of room, and I love the way Dodge gives us color-coded seatbelt straps. I don't understand why more people don't do that. In the back, heated seats, individual ventilation, and mobile charging, which is very awesome. Weight savings, clearly not a priority. Look at those thick seats. They're like about 6 inches thick. Sitting behind myself, I had a whole lot of room, which is really unusual for a car of this performance. The front door is of decent quality. There weren't any rattles. Inside, you have a lot of space, and despite the seats being super bolstered, you do manage to fit comfortably in them. It was a very good place to be. Despite having a 4.5 second 0 to 60 with launch control and a 13-second quarter of a mile, the large steering wheel, the large cabin, and the weight tell you that this car is not a sports car. The dials are small but relatively easy to read. The resolution of the center screen is good, and the center console infotainment is best in class. In fact, with this infotainment console, you can adjust all the driving inputs, which is kind of awesome, including making the steering heavier, which actually makes it more fun to use. It's the first time I've ever felt that in a customizable steering. Taking off the traction control and putting it in ESC Sport mode will allow you to fishtail the car a lot. Here, the engine, the 6.4 liter with cylinder deactivation on the highway and an 8-speed automatic transmission, makes 485 horsepower, 475 torque. In Quebec, you do pay $310 extra a year because it's a big engine. What a ripoff. Anyways, here's what this wonderful engine, this glorious engine, sounds like. Hello car lovers, another good day at the office driving the Dodge Challenger SRT with the 392 engine, 485 horsepower. This thing does take super gasoline. A few comments driving here in the city. It's kind of amazing how the suspension doesn't beat you up. Now I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about how, like, suspension tech. I don't want to get all techy on you guys, but generally a car that is higher off the ground and weighs more requires stiffer springs to attain the same handling as a car that is lighter and lower to the ground. You would think this car, which handles very well, would be very hard in city driving. However, I'm driving in beat-up Quebec roads, and the suspension in the city is extremely compliant. I mean, I could drive in traffic in this car all day and have no problems. But where it's really good is on the highway. I'll show you. So I'm going to show you guys what I mean by crazy acceleration and great sound. That's nuts. That was like the 0 to 60. So this car is in another world. I reviewed the Mustang recently, and I really liked that car. I had driven the Charger, not the V8 version. Now, of course, this is a more expensive version of the Dodge Charger. I mean, this is a $58,000 car. However, I was complaining about the sound of the Mustang. Now, at 100 kilometers an hour, this engine does not drone. It doesn't get on your nerves. It's doing about 1,400 RPM. However, listen when I put the pedal down. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. When I'm paying this much money for gas and excessive engine volume size tax every year that we pay in this stupid province, I want an incredible experience for the sound. This car delivers. It sounds way better than the Mustang. It's, gosh, well, first I'm going to talk about the interior. The interior is the familiar story with Dodge. You get the best infotainment system in the world. You have reasonably good looking gauges. The T-shifter is a classic. Your hand comes down on it naturally. The steering wheel is a bit big, but premium leather, thickly wrapped. Really nice, really nice. I think this interior is acceptable for a car this price. What's a little bit amazing about this car, once again, I'm gonna harp on it, is it does not feel like 4,400 pounds. It feels like, I don't know, like 4,000 pounds. They've really made this car feel as light as possible for what I would call light-spirited driving duties. A couple of quick curves, an on-ramp, things that most people will drive. I think this car handles well enough for that. Not a lot of road and wind noise. I'm driving easy with this car on the highway. Visibility is, with all these cars, I mean, the corners are a little bit hard to gauge, but I mean, from a window point of view, we have pretty good visibility. The sound system is a good quality. I would say audiophile, on the lower spectrum of the audiophile quality, I would say very loud. Ross makes an interesting point. He says this car more closely resembles the look and feel of cars of the 70s, of the late 60s and early 70s. He's right about that, except, as he points out, an important difference. You now have the brakes that can handle it. You now have a suspension that is less laughable. You have a more sophisticated car than you used to have, and that's a lot. So if you're nostalgic for a muscle car, this has to be your first choice. It's better than the Mustang and the Camaro in delivering the classic muscle car feel. I mean, the Camaro is more like a sports car now, and the Mustang, although very good, does not have the engine sound of its competitors, which is, I know I harp on about that, but it's so important. It's so important. The Mustang does not have the practicality that this car has. However, I would say that this car feels about 10% too big. I would like this car to be 10% smaller and try to fit it under the 4,000 pound bar, which is kind of, for me psychologically, is we're in a truck there. It's not a car anymore. Those gripes aside, this car feels great. It looks amazing. And I mean, if you're into these cars, go ahead and buy it, or lease it perhaps, because once again, I'm not sure about that Dodge reliability. I'm going to say it over and over again. I say it in all my videos because they've worked so hard to earn that reputation. We have to give it to them. But apart from that, great car.